All right, Unit 9, final cumulative review for Semester 2, right triangles and trigonometry. So, in triangle FGH, F is a right angle. So, helps to just draw right angle. Here's your right angle, FGH. Okay. H is 45. Okay. Which means this is 45. It has to be. Okay. 45, 45, 90 triangle, one of our special ones. FG, or FH is 9. Find FG, okay, and GH. Well, FG, the other leg, is going to be the same measurement, 9. All right? And when we're going from the leg to the hypotenuse, it's simply multiply by radical 2. So it's just 9 radical 2. Number 2, in GHI, H is the right angle. So here we go. We have H as our right angle. GHI. Angle I is 45, which means this is 45, which means these are equal. Okay, GI is 8 feet. All right. So if we're going from the hypotenuse, the bigger side, to a leg, we are going to divide 8 by radical 2. So over here, we multiply by radical 2 to get bigger. Here, we're going to divide by radical 2 to get smaller. But if we have a radical on the bottom, we need to get rid of it by rationalization. Okay? And when we do that, on the top, we get 8 radical 2. Kind of like over here, we just got 9 radical 2. Just slap it on. But on the bottom, remember, radical 2 times radical 2 is radical 4, which simplifies the 2. And the shortcut is just a radical times itself is just the thing under the radical. So radical 2 times radical 2 is 2. Radical 7 times radical 7 is 7. Okay? And then the last thing you got to check is, can this reduce? And since 8 and 2 are both even numbers, this reduces to 4 radical 2. And that's for this side and this side. All right, ABC. A is a right angle. So we're kind of doing the same thing over again. A, B, C. But this time, B is a 30-degree angle, which means this has to be 60. And as soon as I do that, I'm going to label my sides. This is my small side, this is my medium side, and this is my large side, the hypotenuse, to remind myself. Okay? Baby bear, mama bear, and papa bear. All right? If BC is 12 feet, that is the hypotenuse, the biggest side. Find the other two sides. Well, remember, the easiest thing to go to is always go to the small side first. And that's simply, we're going to divide by 2, which means this side is 6. Okay, so the ratio between the small side and the hypotenuse is 2. Multiply to get bigger, divide to get smaller. Then from the small side, we're getting bigger to go to the medium side, so we're going to multiply by radical 3. If we go from the medium side to the small side, we divide by radical 3. So that's why it's good to label and figure out what's my small, medium, and large sides. All right, again, ABC. A is the right angle. C is 60, which makes this 30. AB is 12. Now, that is the medium side. Remember, we don't want to go to the hypotenuse from here. We always want to go to the small side. So we're going to divide this time by radical 3. So over here, 12 divided by radical 3. We need to rationalize. Okay, that simply gives me 12 radical 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom. But 3 goes into 12 4 times. So the small side is 4 radical 3. And then remember, to go to the large side, all we do is double it, and we're just doubling the outside number, 8 radical 3. And that's going to the larger side, the hypotenuse. Solve for x. Okay, so we have two triangles here. We have 30, 60, 90, and we have 45, 45, 90. Now, what do we have here? We have the medium side. Now, we need to eventually find this right here, but remember, with the 30, 60, 90, we always go to the small side. How do we do that? We divide by radical 3, which in this case is really easy, because when we divide by radical 3, they cancel, which makes this 8. And then we just double it to get the hypotenuse, which is also the leg of the 45, 45, 90. And then when we're going from a leg to the hypotenuse of 45, 45, 90, all we do is multiply by radical 2, which in this case it just means slap it on. Okay? Similar idea here, going the opposite way. So this is a 45, 45, 90, which means this is 9 and 9, okay? Which makes this 9 radical 2, which is what we talked about before. Now, that is the small side, because this is 30. We're going to the hypotenuse. And all we do when we go from the small side of the hypotenuse is double it. And just the outside number. So it's 18 radical 2. It's not 18 radical 4. You just double the outside number. If you need to hit pause or slow down, go back, please do so. Okay, find the trig ratios. What are those trig ratios? Remember, so, ka, toa. So sine of x. So from x, we're standing here, opposite over hypotenuse. So from x, the opposite is 24 over the hypotenuse, which is 30. The hypotenuse is not going to change. It is always hypotenuse. Opposite and adjacent matter where you're looking from. It's all about perspective. Cosine of x, now these are all from x, is adjacent over hypotenuse. Well, from x, 18 is the adjacent. And the hypotenuse, again, does not change. Tangent is the opposite over adjacent. Well, we already identified this is the opposite, and this is the adjacent, so it's simply 24 over 18. Okay, doing the same thing here, but with z. So again, here's our perspective. Okay, from z, here we have opposite. This is the hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. And this right here, right next to it, is the adjacent. Kind of good to label those ahead of time. So from z, sine opposite over hypotenuse is 21 over the 35. Cosine is adjacent, which is the 28, over the hypotenuse, which does not change. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. All right, number 9. Solve for x. All right, so from this angle, what do we have? Well, we have the adjacent, and we have the hypotenuse. That's ka. Cosine. So we say cosine of 65 is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Now remember, whenever x is on the bottom, we switch these. So x is equal to 18 divided by cosine of 65. Now I'm not going to do all these on the calculator, but just as a reminder, when you're using your calculator, especially on the test, always real quickly go to mode and make sure down here it's on degrees, which mine was. So we're good to go. So we're just going to simply type in 18 divided by cosine of 65. I get 42.59. It says round to the nearest tenth. 5 is in the tenths place. The 9 tells it to round up, so it's 42.6. Okay? 10. From this angle, what do we have? We have opposite and we have hypotenuse. That's sine. So we do sine of the angle equals opposite over hypotenuse. In this case, it's very easy. We simply multiply by 20 and we type this in our calculator. 20 times sine of 48. Now remember, if you type in sine of 48 first times 20, make sure you close those parentheses. Okay? And when you do that, you get 14.9. Again, I'm not going to go through all these. We've done enough on the calculator. I don't want to make this video even much longer, but if you have questions, please ask. So again, from this angle, what do I have? Notice, I do not have the hypotenuse. Well, SO and CA both have hypotenuse, so that means I have tangent, TOA. Which one's which? Well, from this angle, this is my adjacent, this is my opposite. So tangent of 65 is equal to opposite over adjacent. This is another one where all I'm going to do is multiply both sides by 12, type in my calculator, and I get 25.7. 12. Find my angle. Opposite, hypotenuse, sine. Step by step. Sine of 57 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Again, the old switcheroo. X is equal to 18 divided by sine of 57. Type in the calculator and round, 21.5. All right, I will do this one on the calculator one time. Now notice we're trying to find the angle. So from this angle, what do we have? From this angle, we have the hypotenuse. I was just going to say, notice what we don't have. Sorry. Notice we don't have the hypotenuse. What we do have here is the opposite, and right next to it, the adjacent. So that's TOA. So that means tangent of an unknown, we can put x, we can put theta, whatever, is equal to opposite over adjacent. So we take our calculator, and remember, whenever we're trying to find the angle, we hit second sine, cosine, or tangent, and just type in what we got. 16 divided by 19. 40.1. Now it says round to the nearest hundredth. So in this case, it was just 0. Doesn't really, the 0 is inconsequential on that one, but it is degrees. If it said, if you wrote down 40.1 in that one, I would accept it because it was just 0. All right, what do we have? We have opposite, hypotenuse. So that's sine. Sine of the unknown is opposite over hypotenuse. Again, second sine, 6 divided by 15, 23.58 degrees. Also remember, pay attention to directions. This said round to the nearest hundredth. This said round to the nearest tenth. Many times on angles, we'll just tell you to round to the nearest whole number. So this would have been 40 and this would have been 24. So just be careful and make sure you're answering the question that's being asked. All right, find the length of the side labeled X. All right, so we need to find this line right here first. Okay, so that we can use that to find this. So from 46 is just a two-step process. We have the adjacent, and we're trying to find the opposite. Notice we don't have the hypotenuse. So that's tangent. Tangent of 46 equals opposite, which is the unknown, over 20. So that's going to be 20 times tangent of 46. And that will give me an unknown. Well, I can't use x because we're solving for x. So let's say y. Y equals 20.71. So this side right here is 20.71. Now, from this angle, that side is the adjacent and this side is the opposite. So we're doing tangent again, but using this new number that we just found. So tangent of 31 is equal to opposite over 20.71. So we're just going to multiply both sides by 20.71. So 20.71 on the calculator times tangent of 31, which gives us 12.44. Okay. So again, we're trying to get over here. We got a baby step. We got to find this line first. Okay. So based on 36, we have the hypotenuse. This is the adjacent. So that's cosine of 36 is equal to adjacent, which is this one, over 20. So again, we just type in our calculator, 20 times cosine of 36, and we find out that y is equal to 16.18. Now, since it doesn't say how to round it, let's set up here. Yeah, it didn't say how to round this one. If you did 16.2, you're fine. You get a slightly different answer. It's okay. Now, based on this angle, here's the hypotenuse. The adjacent is still the adjacent. Okay, so it is still cosine. So cosine of 30 this time is equal to adjacent, which we know now, over our unknown. Don't forget the old switcheroo. So x is equal to 16.18 divided by cosine of 30. And we end up with x being 18.68. Again, if you did 18.7, that would be fine. All right, we're getting there. A ladder, 12 feet long, leans against the side of a building. The base of the ladder rests on level ground 3 feet from the building. Okay, so we have a building here. Put windows in it if you want, whatever. Wonderful building. 3 feet from the building is a ladder, and the ladder is 12 feet tall. What angle does it form with the ground? So from that angle, we have 3, which is the adjacent, and the 12 is the hypotenuse. So cosine of the unknown is adjacent over hypotenuse. Once again, you do second cosine, 3 divided by 12, and you get 75.5 degrees. A ladder 8 feet long leans against the side of a building. The ladder is 4 feet from the side of the building. So here's my 4. Here's my 8. What angle does it form? Same problem. Cosine of x equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Second cosine, 4 divided by 8, and we get 60 degrees. That's this answer. How high, what's the angle? It also has a second question. How high on the wall is the ladder resting? So we're trying to find this right here also. Now, you could do trigonometry. That would be fine. But you also have a right triangle. So 4 squared plus b squared equals 8 squared. So b squared is equal to 8 squared is 64 minus 4 squared, which is 16. So b squared equals 48. So we square root both of those. And the answer to this question is about 6.93 feet. Okay, but like I said, you could have also used tangent of this of the angle 60, tangent of 60, okay, equals opposite over 4. Okay, you could have also done sine of 60 equals opposite over 8, and you would have gotten the same answer no matter what you did. So there are options, but this is probably a quicker way. John wants to measure the height of a tree to determine the length of ladder he needs to be able to access the top of the tree. He walks exactly 100 feet from the base of the tree and looks up. The angle from the ground is 33. How tall is the tree? So here's a tree. John walks 100 feet. The angle for the ground is 33 degrees. We're trying to find the height of the tree. So we're trying to find this, which is opposite. We have the adjacent. So that's tangent of 33 equals opposite over 100. So this is simply 100 times tangent of 33, which is 64.94 feet. So what's the minimum length of ladder he'll need? 65 feet. Number 20, solve for x. Okay. Well, first off, this is where we do sine over side and sine over side. Okay. We don't know this with, whoopsie, this side, which is opposite this angle, which we don't know, but we do know. Okay. So 46 plus 17, okay, is 363. Okay. If we subtract that from 180, we get 117 degrees. So now we have that ratio. Sine of 117 over x is equal to sine of 46 over 18. Okay, law of sines. So cross, multiply, and divide. We'll do this one on the calculator. So 18 times sine of 117, close those parentheses, divided by sine of 46. And we get 22.295. So the 5 rounds the 9 up, 9 rounds the 2, so we'll go with 22.3. Right? So we're trying to find that angle, x. We have these two. So sine of 36 over 34 equal to sine of x over 38. All right, there's two ways to go about this. Whenever we're trying to find an angle, we always have to use second whatever. So in this case, second sine. And then it's just cross multiply and divide. So it's literally 38 times sine of 36. Remember, close those parentheses, divided by 34. And we get 41.1 or 41.07, whatever. You could also do 38 times sine of 36, close those parentheses, divided by 34, and get that, and then do second sine and just copy that down. 0.656, 936, 4584. The more you do, the more detailed. And you get the same answer. Okay? So it's up to you. 41.07 degrees or 41.1. Either way is fine. All right. Last page, I believe. Yep. Solve for x. Okay. Now this one is the other fun formula. So x squared, and you'll have these formulas on the test, is going to be this side squared plus this side squared. So 12 squared plus 16 squared minus 2 times those two numbers again, 12, 16, times the cosine of the angle. Okay? Now, you just got to be careful when you crunch these numbers. I personally like to do this number first and this second. Okay? So 12 squared plus 16 squared, 400, minus, and I do 2 times 12 times 16 times the cosine of 89. Okay, and that's 6.70. Then 400 minus 6.7. 393.3. Now, you can do this all in one fell swoop. I just don't like to make mistakes with, parentheses and minus. I just like to be a little more careful. So you're fine. But remember, that's equal to x squared, so you have to square root this number. So second square root 393.3. 19.83. Which again makes sense. It's hypotenuse. It should be bigger than both of those numbers. And it is. Okay. Same thing here. Just solving for the angle this time. So we're going to do 30 squared equals the other two sides. 26 squared plus 28 squared minus 2 times those two numbers again. 28, 26. And the cosine of this time, we don't know. Okay? So again, we're going to have to hit second cosine to get to that part. All right? So 30 squared is 900 equals. So 26 squared plus 28 squared. 1460 minus 2 times 28 times 26. 1456. 1456 cosine of x. Now, think about this. This is really no different than if I told you 10 equals 5 minus 3x. Okay? First thing we would do is get rid of the 5 and then divide by -3. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do here is get rid of the 1416. Sorry, 60. So 900, that's not what I wanted. 900 minus 1460 is -560 equals -1456 cosine of x. Divide by that number. Divide by -1456. Sorry, my calculator is being difficult. I get 0.3846. 0.3846 equals cosine of x. So we just hit second cosine and just type in those numbers. 0.3846. If you type in more, it'll be more detailed. You can just copy it right there. And that gives us 67.38 degrees. Solve for all the missing sides and angles of the triangle. So, drawing a picture always helps. A, B, C. So, side A is 7, little a. Big B is 67. Big C is 82. And if we add those two together, that gives us 149, which means this is 31. Okay? So, there's that. Sine of 31 over 7. And now we can solve either of the other two sides. Okay? 67 over B or 82 over C. Doesn't matter. So let's just do alphabetical order. Sine of 67 over little b. Okay? And when we do that, cross multiply and divide. So 7 times sine of 67 divided by sine of 31. We get b equals 12.5. And then if I do the same thing, sine of 31 over the original 7 equals sine of 82 over little c. And again, type in your calculator. 7 times sine of 82 divided by sine of 31. C is equal to 13.46. So it looks like this. And notice, biggest angle, biggest side. Medium angle, medium side. Smallest angle, smallest side. As it should be. Last two problems. Find the area of the triangle. Remember, this is a very simple formula. Area equals 1/2 side A, side B, and sine of the angle in between them. That should be a 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. Half of 12 is 6. So basically, you're just typing in 6 times sine of 40. And the area is 3.86 units squared. Again, A equals, 1/2. 4 times 3, again, doesn't matter. And this is supposed to be C, typo, sorry. sine of 41. So again, 4 times 3 is 12, divided by 2 is 6. 6 times sine of 41, 3.9 units squared. And that's it.